Magyar szólások és közmondások angolul beszélőknek.
Hungarian sayings and proverbs for English speakers. Relaxing.
A kemény utazás és nehéz dolgozás után legjobb nyugodni.
A long one this time, but pretty straightforward. Utazás is travel or journey. Dolgozás is working. Nyugodni. Oh, wait a minute, what's that doing there? Well, this is something we're going to look at later in the video. It's an example of one of the few irregular IK verbs. Nyugodni means he, she, or it relaxes, in the sense of lying, resting, reposing. In contrast to kemény, which you might also know, which means to rest or relax. So this is the idea of resting or relaxing by lying down. If it's not the present indicative, then that S is replaced by an OD. Nyugodni means to lie down. It's the same verb as used when the sun sets. So the sun lies down. Nyugodszik a nap. You'll also see lament used for this. What else have we got? O is just the. Kemény is hard in the sense of difficult. És and nehéz is heavy in the sense of difficult. Után, after, and legjobb is one of our superlatives. It means best. Word by word. The hard journey and heavy work after best lie down to. After a hard journey and hard work, it's best to relax. Sounds like good advice to me. Let's have a look at ways to relax. The most complete way of relaxing is alszik. He, she, or it sleeps. But you don't have to go the whole way. You can fekszik, which means just to lie down. These are other examples of the irregular IK verbs which we'll handle later. Or you can play cards. Hungarian cards are a wee bit different from the Western ones. Olvas, you can read. You can play on your computer. This means both to work and to play. You can watch television. You can make music. Great way to relax. Or you can listen to music. Zene being music, zenate is the accusative. So hallgot is to listen. So let's look at the connected nouns and adjectives. As I said, alsik is a bit unusual, and the noun is actually got a V in it. Sleep, alsik. Sleep itself, olvás. And sleeping, olvol. Fekvés is lying, the location of something. Vö means lying as an adjective or recumbent. So if you're talking about a fekvö he, you're talking about either a bed or a berth. There are two nouns reading from the verb olvas. Olvasot and olvasás. It's olvasot is the one that means to look at things on the page and work out what they sound like. Olvasás is less common, and it means reading, as in either a person standing up and reading to other people or an interpretation of a text. Olvasó actually has two distinct meanings. It can be an adjective meaning reading, but it could also be the noun meaning a person who does the reading, that is a reader. Számítógép is a computer. When you're looking at television, the act of watching television is tévézés. The noun that means television is simply tévé or televízió. The word for music is zene and the adjective is zenei. Now those are all things that I'd consider great ways of relaxing, but some people want to be a little more physical. So you can go for a walk. You don't shaitel to work. So shaitel is the idea of taking a walk for the sake of taking a walk, just walking about. my only physical way of relaxing is gardening. Kertes kitik. Kertes being a gardener and kert being a garden. Sporto doesn't need any explanation, it just means to play sport. Tanso is to dance. Bulizik is to party. In these last three verbs I've said to because that's how we describe it in English. Strictly speaking, it's he, she or it plays sport, he, she or it dances, he, she or it parties. These are the dictionary forms. And again, if we want to look at the associated words, sheto is a walk, as in you go for a walk. Whereas shetain is a promenade, that is a place where you go for a walk. Shetalo can either mean the adjective walking or the noun walker. And you'll see the adjective for gardening doesn't look like it belongs there. It's because it comes from the word for a nursery rather than the word for gardening. And tansosh is also one of these words that does a double duty. It can either mean dancing as an adjective or dancer as a noun. And bully is just bully. Let's have a look at directions, because we talked about the sun nyugsik, and some of you may have actually heard the word nyugot, meaning west. So we've got 4 directions in Hungarian, just as we have 4 in English. Észak, kelet, dél, nyugat. If you're thinking észak sounds a little bit familiar, you might be thinking of éjszaka. Now, észak and éjszaka are connected. A being the word for night. Sok can mean a period, an age, a division. Éjszaka being nighttime, night period. And the pronunciation between the two is very similar. Éjszaka is slightly longer. Észak is slightly shorter with the first syllable.
Éjszaka.
Éjszak.
The reason why the two are connected is because the north is the area of nighttime. It's the dark area. Kelet. We've come across the word kel before, meaning to get up, to rise. And this is what the sun does in the east. So the sun rises, so it's kelet. It is the place of rising. Dale, again, you may have heard this before. It can either mean south or it can mean midday, because at midday the sun is in the south, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, in which case it's in the north. I found it quite tricky when I was in Hungary to actually know which direction we were travelling, because the sun was always on the wrong side. If you're talking about in the south, it's délen. If you're talking about at midday, it's délben. And finally we get to nyugot, where the sun lies down, where the sun goes away, where the sun sets. To make the adjective very simple, in every case we add an I. Now, some of you may have heard of Nyugati and Keleti before, because these are the names of 3 of the main train stations in Budapest. The Nyugati station was designed by August de Serres and was built by the Eiffel Company. It's absolutely beautiful if you ever go inside. It was opened on the 28th of October 1877. And there was another station there before, so it wasn't the first station there. Keleti was opened in 1881, and Daily 1861. Now when you look at a map, you sort of wonder why they're actually called Nyugati, Keleti and Daily. Well, it's not actually where they are in Budapest per se. So the Nyugati line, named after Nyugati Square, tends to have the trains that travel to the west. So if you want to catch the train to Vienna, for example, you go to the Nyugati station. Keleti is a terminus for the lines from eastern Hungary. So Transylvania, etc. So when I come in from Debrecen, I come into the Kalati station, then have to catch the metro to the Nyugodni to actually get to Western Europe. The daily is basically serving towns and cities to the south. I said we're going to look at these irregular verbs. I'm not going to look at all of them, but we've already mentioned a couple. So osik, the infinitive is aludni, and the past is alud. Remember, with the D and the T together becomes a double T. This really confused me when I first went to Hungary. My aunt would say each morning, "You aludtal. Did you sleep well?" I knew osik, but I didn't know that when you put it in the past, it becomes aludtal. So, yes. And the imperative, or otherwise known as the subjunctive, because the same conjugation does both jobs in Hungarian. Again, we've got the J. Now, I've included the old-fashioned one because you'll still occasionally see it, which is aludjék, but more commonly these days it's aludjon. Feksik is the same. It means to lie or to stay in bed. Because it's a front vowel word, we put in the short U. Harangsik, to be angry. Now here's an interesting thing with nyugsik. So nyugsik, which we have just been working with, means to lie or repose. That's what the sun does. But when you add the prefix meg nyugsik, it actually means to calm down. So a subtle change in meaning there. Let's go into one a bit more deeply. So let's have a look at nyugsik, seeing that's our verb for today. And I've given you the indefinite. In actual fact, because this is an intransitive verb, you only have an indefinite tense. And you'll see that in the present, we have the SZ through all persons, first, second, third. And in the past, conditional and imperative, we actually have the D and the linking vowel O. If you have a look here, we'll see that each tense or mood has a characteristic letter. So your past, your characteristic is a T, the conditional is an N, and the imperative subjunctive is a J. There is one more I want to quickly introduce, and that is the inflected infinitive. There are some cases where you actually inflect the infinitive, so it's not just nyugodni. If it's me, it's nyugodnom. So if I want to say, I must lie down, I'd say, nyugodom kell. To lie down, me, is required.
A kemény utazás és nehéz dolgozás után legjobb nyugodni.
After a hard journey and hard work, it's best to relax. Very good advice. And actually, when you're learning a language, or learning anything for that matter, it is actually helpful to let your brain relax. It rearranges all the concepts nicely in your head. So until next time, work and then relax.